Hi guys, it's your girl Z,
And I'm Sin.
and we're back with another one for you today. And today we're checking out the top 10 most important moments in British history. Why am I always the one introducing the videos?
Well, I can see this one. I can read it.
I know you don't have the glasses on, but this is big.
Yeah, I can read this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I can read this.
Let's get into this video. All right, guys? Here we go. Right about. Hold on. I'm going to start. Here we go. Right about now.
Are you ready for a history lesson?
Yes.
Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 most important events in British history. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at some of the key moments that have propelled Britain forward in the last 1,000 years. Obviously, we can't cram a millennium's worth of history into one video, so don't be surprised if there are some significant events we haven't covered just yet. Number 10, the failure of the Commonwealth.
I will give this nation back its self-respect.
The Protectorate was a period that took place during the Commonwealth when England, Ireland and Scotland were under the rule of Lord Protector Oliver Cromwell and subsequently his son Richard Cromwell. This was the only time in history that England had republican rule. Monarchists refer to this period as the interregnum, a time when there was no ruler on the throne of England. This resulted in the Restoration, which took place the following year. The demise of the republican rule still allowed many of the recently established democratic institutions to remain, which have endured until modern times. Number 9, American colonies declare their independence.
We are chasing the bastards back to Boston, and we'll keep them there.
Prior to 1776, what we now know as the United States of America was simply a collection of 13 colonies on the east coast bordering the Atlantic. Residents there were becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the British rule and had been waging war on the Brits for more than a year. Finally, by the summer of 1776, all 13 of the colonies had agreed to segregate from England. Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, which was then adopted by Congress. The American War of Independence was not yet finished. It would go on for another 5 years. Number 8, the Great...
I did not realize that all 13 withdraw practically at the same time, in a sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's news to me. I thought they just broke away one by one.
No, they're tired of all the taxes and some other things. They're just tired.
Oh,
They were
jeez.
done with England.
Wow.
Well, the king. They were done with the king.
So number 8, the Great Fire of London.
Great Fire of London. In the summer of 1666, a blaze engulfed the city of London, destroying almost everything in its path. 13,200 houses were taken, as well as 87 churches. It's estimated that the vast majority of London residents lost their homes to the fire. Strangely, amid all this destruction, there were hardly any reports of deaths taking place due to the fire. Historians have established several reasons for this. Firstly, the deaths of commoners were not always recorded, and secondly, the bodies may have been completely incinerated, leaving no evidence of how many really perished. The city had to be entirely rebuilt, and some historians believe the fire was actually beneficial in a way because it eliminated many unsanitary and plague-infected buildings. Number 7.
Now that's new to me. I did not know about the London fire. Yeah, I did not know about that. That's new to me.
But can you imagine the amount of debt there was?
Oh, I
but
bet.
because there was no census?
Yes, because they're not. Yeah, and they were common people. They didn't bother to even record that.
Because they said, how many buildings? You realize
Yeah,
how many
13,000.
was destroyed?
Yeah,
so
that's
can
a
you
lot.
imagine how many lives were lost?
Affected too. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a new one.
The Peasants' Revolt.
Is this some sort of peasant joke that I'm too rich to understand?
In the 14th century, British commoners had a lot to be upset about. The plague had recently wiped out a huge portion of the population, which meant that labourers were able to demand more money because workers were no longer so readily available. The government, however, set the Ordinance of Labourers, which cemented wages at the low amounts they were before the Black Death. They also levied a poll tax to fund the war against the French, which ate up even more of the peasants' wages. All of this led to the Great Rising of 1381, which had an impact on the 100 Years' War because authorities were not able to raise taxes for funding as they had for prior conflicts. Number 6, the Suffragette Movement is formed.
What would the vote mean to you, Mrs. Watts?
Though the women's suffrage movement had been underway for several years already, 1903 marked an important event in British history. The Women's Social and Political Union was created by Emmeline Pankhurst and others, which took direct action to further their goals. The First World War put a pause on suffrage campaigning, though there was still some progress. Many cite 1918 as the year that women in the UK gained the right to vote, but in fact, at that point it excluded women under the age of 30, as well as those who didn't independently own property. It was only a decade later in 1928 that all women were granted the right to cast a vote. Number 5, the...
How crazy is that? So if you're not married and you're under 30, you don't have a say-so.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine living in a time like that? Huh?
It's a whole different world. A whole different world. It's a whole different world.
But then women were able to help in certain areas, but yet they had no say-so.
Especially during the war. I know the U.S., especially during the war, they had women to help out with that.
No, they had women too, because in World War II, I just did a video.
Oh, and we're in too?
Yeah,
Okay.
women, they were on the front line.
Just like, okay.
I did not know that.
I didn't
until
I know about the U.S. one.
Yeah,
No,
listen, but I just did a video on the other channel, and that's when I found that out. It was, you have to watch that.
Yeah.
Know your allies, something like that.
Right, okay.
And that's how I found that women were also on the front line. It is, listen. Number five.
End of World War II. The entire period of the Second World War, ranging from 1939 to 1945, was evidently a remarkable time in the history of the United Kingdom.
Listen.
Of the many things that came of the war, one of the most notable was a push for a bigger and more intervening government. The welfare of people during wartime had become a government problem that was dealt with to the satisfaction of the population. A spirit of community-mindedness was also fostered by the difficult times of war, and the British people came out of the conflict with strengthened class relationships, which would lead to more left-leaning social policies moving forward. Number 4, Henry VIII severs ties with the church.
For the church this won't end well. I'm sending in my man Cromwell.
Henry VIII is probably most famous for his 6 wives, 2 of whom he had beheaded, and it was his desire to end his marriage with his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, that spurred on one of the key events in British history. Catherine was unable to give Henry the male heir he so needed, so he petitioned Pope Clement VII to annul his marriage. When he was refused, he took the radical step of severing ties with Rome and started the English Reformation. He named himself Supreme Head of the Church of England and was excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church, though he always remained true to his Catholic upbringing. Number 3.
Can you imagine that?
6 wives? All in the name of, sorry, I was on the 6 wives. All in the name of a boy. I get it. He wanted the heir to the throne, but my goodness.
Listen. You know how I know about this stuff, Henry? By watching The Tudor. I don't know if you ever watched it. It was a series on TV. If you watch it, that's how I know about Catherine and the whole 9 yards, the severing the ties.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it is true. The whole thing is true, because you know how when you're making, they kind of spin the truth, or you know, they kind of fumble with it a little bit. But that's how I know about that. If I did not watch it, I could not, I wouldn't know anything about it. But he wasn't. No. Number 3. He needs to be tied up and put over there.
You are it, sir. You are not it, sir.
No, he wasn't it. All right, guys. Number 3.
The Magna Carta was signed.
Without loyalty, there is no kingdom. There is nothing.
The Magna Carta, which can be translated to the Great Charter, is one of history's most revered and renowned documents.
Yep.
It was instituted by King John of England, and the premise behind it was to ensure that every citizen, including the monarchy, would be subject to the law of the land.
Can you believe that?
Much of the text has been edited since its inception, and very few of the clauses remain in modern law. But nonetheless, the Magna Carta is the basis of the British Constitution.
Yep.
Many principles represented in the document have been influential in bills of rights around the world. Number 2, the Battle of Waterloo.
You want to kill your emperor? Here I am.
On June 18th, 1815, Napoleon and his army marched to the Belgian village of Waterloo to fight against the Duke of Wellington and his army of Brits, Germans, and Belgians. Napoleon made some critical strategic errors which led to his troops losing the battle. This victory for England marked the end of France's dominance in Europe and a return to the previous power Britain had exerted for centuries. The result of this conflict is thought to have an impact on world history as well, bringing in a period of relative peace which allowed for technical innovations and prosperity. Number 1, the Battle of Hastings.
So, the Magna Carta, they've never made a bet. Listen, listen, not even the king, he have to abide by. That I appreciate.
Yeah.
And if I didn't take the time out to watch these videos, I wouldn't know anything about this. I wouldn't know anything about Britain, know anything about what they've been through. I am so fascinated now with history than I was before. I had no interest, but doing this, I'm like, man, I didn't know that. I'm happy, as old as I am, to be learning this at this time.
It's
to
never
be honest
too
with
late. It's never too late to learn.
I'm like, wow. But they had that mindset
Yes.
back then. You understand? So that's why I'm saying certain things that are happening now, it can change. It can definitely change because here, oh Jesus, it ain't it. Number one.
Hastings. Nearly 1,000 years ago, the face of England was forever changed. In a battle won by William the Conqueror, the Anglo-Saxon King Harold was killed with an arrow through the eye. The outcome of the Battle of Hastings impacted British life, culture, and language in innumerable ways. The language of official documents became Latin, but of even more impact was the influence of the French language over English, especially in the tradition of names. Traditional Anglo-Saxon names began to disappear in favor of French names that we today consider inherently English, like William, Henry, and Robert. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch.
I've noticed from this video a lot. Back then, there were a bunch of wars.
Yeah.
That's a lot of bodies. That's a lot of casualties lost on both sides. That's a lot of people gone. Even back then, a bunch of wars. But William, that's pretty cool. William, I can tell. Some French names, really nice. A really good video. I enjoyed it. Learned some more things about London. Some things I remember from school, high school, and history from high school. The Magna Carta, the independence, Revolutionary War, all that stuff. So it's nice, just like a good refresher. I liked it. Great one.
Listen to me. I'm the one that's under the rock and coming out. So I go.
Don't put yourself down.
I'm not putting myself down.
Okay.
I'm just like, a lot of this stuff I did not know.
Same here.
Period. Point blank.
And it's okay to learn.
And it's okay. It's like you said, like a lot of people like, oh, how come you didn't know this?
Yeah, like I don't know everything, guys.
Not only that, I grew up in Jamaica.
Yeah.
We don't teach certain stuff. If it's outside of our realm, there's no need to be sitting and learning that stuff. Like, they focus more on not international stuff.
Exactly, and that makes sense.
And a lot of people tend to don't get that.
Exactly.
It don't make no sense to me. I'm like,
get out your own
why
bubble.
would you? Like why would we focus on stuff like
on
that?
America strictly, not our own country.
Exactly.
This country, not our own country. Like,
Exactly. It doesn't make sense to me why people get mad and say, "Why? How come you didn't know that? Oh, you don't read." I'm like, seriously?
Tell me something about Jamaica. You tell me something about Jamaica.
Exactly. So it's like that's why right now I'm over it. I'm here to learn, and anybody else who's on here and want to learn with me are surprised that I understand that I'm learning some. Just to see my raw reactions is like, wow, cool. That took place.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And comment below anything you yourself as a viewer has learned or would like to share. Like, we're always learning in the comment section too. We read the comment sections. We may not like every single thing because we're kind of busy, but we do read what you guys do comment.
And I do take the time out to reply.
Z is kind of, Z needs to log out for us. Log out. Okay? We need to wrap this up.
Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share.
Like.
If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Come on in and become a part of the family.
Come on.
Let me know in the comment section what you'd like us to check out next. You can either drop a link or you can write it in the comment section, and we'll definitely shout you out and do that video for you. Just give us some time, but it will be done.
Yes.
Love you guys, and we will definitely catch you guys in